Hey everybody, I'm back. Gonna work on a little piece of ash today. Um, I've pretty much made it mostly a cube, and I'm going to turn it crosswise. I'm gonna make like a little pot out of it. So it's gonna be turned in the orientation as if it were a bowl. So I want to show you guys this modular tool rest system. This is made by Best Wood Tools. They're the same company that made the carving stand. And this is pretty awesome. What I did, because basically I have tool post, and then there are all of these options to go with it. So, oh no, come back here, I want you. So there's a 12-inch straight bar that can go on top. Okay, so there's a 12-inch straight bar. And then there are also 9 and 6 and 4. And there are also curvy. There's a 3-inch radius. And this one is a 4.5-inch radius. Right? So you have all these different components plus a box rest, which I'm going to leave on one tool post and install the post stop collar so that I can use it with my hollowing system, because I think that's going to help. But what I want to do right now is show you what I did for changing this out. Basically, what they say is that you only need to tighten this about 1/8 of a turn past finger tight. So I just built a little jig that sits down in my lathe bed, because I have a couple of vices, but they're not really very conveniently located. So this way, all I have to do is get my wrench. I've already loosened it. Okay, because I think I'm going to put I'm going to try the 6-inch one on here. So I'll set my 4-inch aside. Get the 6-inch out. These are really nice and nicely machined and very solid. So you put your little brass guy in there. Okay, so that's finger tight. Now I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to go about 1/8 of a, oops, that's the wrong way, upside down and backwards. 1/8 of a turn That's probably plenty. Okay. So the shelf liner stuff just keeps it from getting marred up in the bottom. I countersunk those screws. And this is a piece of maple. I think this is ash on the bottom. So then this way I can just quickly get them in and out because that's pretty awesome. The piece of maple that I used for the holding the tool rest top is a solid piece. I just cut a groove in it with the dowel blade on my table saw. And then since I did this video, I glued a little piece of indoor-outdoor carpeting in the bottom just to give it a little bit of extra cushion. So I know that there are a handful of modular tool rest systems out there, and to be honest with you, I have never considered any of them. I know that Penn State had one at one point. I think Nova makes one. But I just didn't really feel all that warm and fuzzy about the whole, modular part of it, and the components being manufactured overseas where maybe the quality control isn't so great. These are manufactured in Tennessee, and they are very, very heavy duty, and they feel really good. I don't have any qualms at all about using this modular setup. I will put the link to Best Wood Tools website in the video description, and you can check out the modular tool rest system, the carving stand. They've got a whole lot of really cool products for lathes, and they're made here in the United States and Tennessee. So far, I'm really impressed with the quality of what I'm getting from them. I'm going to try out my new drilling thing here carefully, because the bad thing about, having your drill chuck permanently secured with a pin like I'm about to do is that still got too much grease on the bottom of my spindly thing there. Let's see, and I pinged a hole for the top, so this goes in there like this. And then I have a screw, goes down there like that. I'm going to go ahead and use a 2 1/8 inch Forstner bit, but it's round, and so I think that if anything bad happens and it gets hung up, that this is going to spin before any other thing would be a problem. That's what I'm thinking anyway. And I always go nice and slow when I'm drilling. So I'll get this guy in there tight. But I think that that's still not going to be tight. I always have trouble with these spinning. So that can spin, and that's fine. This spinning boogered up the inside of my Morse taper, so I don't want it to do that. We're just going to go nice and slow. To finish what I started to say about having drilled the hole and pinned the drill chuck into the quill, the potential for that to go bad is if that's all completely fixed and the drill bit got caught on something, you're more likely for it to, I don't know, I don't know what would happen. Maybe it would tear your rip your tenon off or something potentially bad. But because I'm not using a hex shanked drill bit, you can see that the drill bit spun. So I don't think that that's really going to be an issue using a Forstner bit, as long as it is has a round shank and has the ability to be the weakest point and can spin if it needs to. Well, I'm going to give it a whirl. See how it goes. Pretty good. Okay, so I have enough depth to get in here to the bottom, and the tool is going to be supported almost all the way to the edge. My walls are nice and even. Just going to clean up this little bit of a dimple in the bottom from where the twist drill bit went in. Otherwise, I think we're looking pretty good. And then haven't decided yet if I'm going to make a lid for this. So I potentially cut a little recess in here for a lid to sit in, but I have not decided yet. So we're going to just clean up the bottom and then look at it. I'm quite happy with the box rest. That worked out nicely. Now I meant to get some distilled water and I forgot, but that's okay. So now what we're gonna do is have a little fun with some color. I sanded it to 400, and the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm coating the inside and the outside with black gesso, which is quick dry. It doesn't really matter what it looks like because I'm gonna sand all of it off the outside and only leave what's in the pores. I mean, the whole point of doing it is just to get the black down in the pores. There's really no wrong answer here, and I know that I have a line down here. I'm going to leave that for now because I don't know what I'm going to do with the bottom. I might carve feet on it, probably not, but I'm just going to leave that for now. I meant to get some distilled water and I forgot. But so what I want to do here, I think, is I'm going to do a gradient. I think I'm going to do blue to like a dark black at the bottom, or really a dark blue. So these are just artist color. It's acrylic. I've used these paints before. I'll put a link to the video that I did, and I used them basically full strength. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to dilute them down with some water. So there are a gazillion different ways that you can dye wood. I've done some of them on the channel. I did some food coloring. I've used trans fast water-based powder dyes, and I've used trans tint pre-mixed liquid dyes. I don't have any, but there's also this stuff called Mixol, which is like a universal pigment that you can put in anything: shellac, alcohol, water. It's soluble in pretty much everything. What I'm using are acrylic artist colors, which are cheap, readily available, but they're also light fast. Well, this ash, I've done a bunch of these, and I really like the way that they're coming out. It does change the color based on, like, the ash has a bit, especially the heartwood, has a bit of an orangey tint to it, and the rest of it is a little bit yellow. So you do have to keep in mind when you're dyeing things that the tone or the color of the wood is going to come into play. I had that trouble with some of the mushrooms that I was working on with the food coloring. There's lots of trial and error when dyeing wood. If I'd stopped here, I probably would have been all right, but the shellac pulled more of the color off than I wanted it to, and so then I started messing with it, and it's just kind of going to go downhill from there. So I'm going to put color on and take it off several times before I just decide to sand it all off and start over. Another thing, and I think that you can see it a little bit more with this lighter blue that I've got here. I didn't use quite enough water. I think that it works better, especially because these acrylic paints are really kind of thick. I really should have diluted it down more than I did, and that I think would have helped it absorb a little bit more evenly. Because if it's too thick, the paint kind of stays paint and just wants to sort of smear along the surface rather than going into solution with the water, and the water soaking into the wood and taking the pigment with it. So thinner, I think, is better. All right, I'm going to start over. I still have the dark in the green, and this is one of the problems with doing end grain, with dyeing end grain turn, or not end grain, cross grain, is you get the color sucked up into the end grain more than the side grain, which, isn't like the end of the world, but when you're being picky like I am about trying to get some perfect gradient, can be annoying. All right, so I changed the color a little bit. It was a little bit brighter. Let's just see what this color looks like. And it's much looser, much more water in this one. I'm just gonna go like this and like this. Bring some of that back off. I'm applying this with a small piece of a natural bath sponge, and that seems to work out the best. The paper towel I'm using to sort of take off the excess, because what I want to do with these dyed pieces is not, I don't want to paint them. I want the wood grain to show through. I bought a package of plastic condiment cups and lids from Meyer, and that's what I'm using to mix the base color in here. So this pot is all going to be made from that 1 cup of blue. I added a little bit of that to a paper Dixie cup with a little bit of extra water, but more black gesso, because I'm just using the black to try to darken that blue so that I can get a gradient going down. Some of the other pieces that I did, I used a hair dryer to help dry it, which may have been helpful in this case too. I did wait a while and try to let that dry, but I didn't really want, lines between them. I really just wanted it to sort of fade gradually, and it just fought me every step of the way in trying to blend them together. Rather than blending, it would just pull the color off. So I'm not sure if maybe going even thinner than I did here with a more water to less paint ratio would help that. Um, I don't know, but this is a struggle for a perfectionist, let me just tell you. And finally, I just give up. We're just going to leave it as it is. It's as good as it's going to get. I don't really understand why the shellac will pull the color off until I'm trying to use it to pull the color off a little bit and blend the transitions together, but it said no, not really so much. Thanks though. All right, and now what I want to do is spray that with shellac. Spraying shellac to try to seal all of it before I go any further has turned out to be the best option, but you're going to see here in a second that it leaves kind of a funny texture that I'm not super crazy about, but I don't really know any other way to do it. So I sprayed this last night with the spray shellac. And I've had this trouble on all of the ones that I've done. I've tried a couple of different kinds of finish. Um, Shine Juice works really well if you can get it sealed ahead of time. Otherwise, it will pull some of the color off, which isn't the end of the world. This actually is a little bit more delineated than I was hoping, but every time I tried to kind of blur the lines of the color change, it just pulled it all the way off. So I'm just going to leave it alone. And I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick this up or not. Maybe I'll take a picture so just so you can see the kind of texture that's on it. I've tried sanding this, which I'm going to try again, because it's like there's just kind of a little bit of a texture from the spray pattern, I think. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this back with probably like 400 and just try to get the surface leveled out. And then I might put another coat of, shellac on with a paper towel like I usually do. All right, so this is just 400 grit. Got a little shellac goober right there. Got to sand off. I'm gonna go super quick. It's super light with some denatured alcohol. Okay. Not really sure why the texture. Well, actually, that looks pretty good in most spots. I'm afraid to sand it down too far because I don't want to end up back quite all the way to the layer of the dye, which, you can see that it's a little bit of it's coming off. So that's okay. All right, I'm going to use some of Brad's extra fine sanding paste on this and see if I can blend the texture in. I try to get a pretty thick coat of the 1 pound cut of shellac like I usually do. We'll see if that will maintain its layer and keep me from bringing the color back up. I think I'm gonna use Brad's tongue wax finish on this. The tongue wax is a higher concentration of wax than the tongue honey, which has more tongue oil in it. So really all I want to do is get a coat of wax on the top. The tongue oil I don't think is really going to penetrate much in this case. I'll let that sit for a few minutes, but I'm not going to let it sit as long as I normally do, especially for the tongue honey, because with the tongue honey, I'm really trying to let it, give it an opportunity to soak down into the wood. In this case, I really am just looking for a surface wax finish. Well, I can still see the texture of that sprayed shellac, but I just don't think there's anything I can do about that right now. I have a 10% off discount code for Brad's products. I will put it up on the screen. Speaking of codes, I also have a discount code for Starbond, and apparently some of the web bot crawler things have picked up my Starbond code and pasted it on one of those like coupon code websites where they just like try every coupon under the sun. So that coupon code, Lisa10, got deactivated, and they made me a new one, but I didn't know that this had happened. So I'm going to put the new one up on the screen so you can use that for a 10% off of your first order with Starbond. I'm hoping to get my normal Lisa 10 back, but in the meantime, there is a discount code that you can use for my Starbond, and I also have a discount code for Brad's finishes. Still haven't decided what I'm going to do about this bottom. I don't think I'm going to carve feet on it because that's just more than I can handle right now. Somebody on one of the last videos I did was talking about the Laguna banjo. They've got the same lathe, and they bought a one-way banjo to use on the Laguna lathe because they dislike the Laguna banjo so much. I would tend to agree, but I just don't have that kind of money to replace it, unless it like breaks or something. But there are a lot of things about it that I don't love. That looks pretty good. I've got my initial hole still there, which always helps. I do, however, love these tool posts. For right now, I'm just going to take the tenon off and make this a little bit concave. I don't even mind that line right there. I don't have a problem with it. Sometimes I end up with a lot of tear out from where I'm taking the nub off the bottom. So I'm going to try the Phil Anderson method of removing that little nub again and see how it goes. well. It went well. So I've been having way too much fun dyeing these little ash pots and hollow forms. I'm going to try again to get a better gradient, but all in all, I'm all right with that. The sunburst one is the first one that I did. And then I added this one, so he had a little friend. And then they needed another friend, so now there's Mr. Purple Guy there. And then I added another friend, more green. And now we've got 6 of them, including a pink one. And here's a little bit of Bailey for you.
Hi. Hi, Beagle. What are you doing? Did you make yourself a nice nest? Are you so cute? Are you the most handsomest Beagle boy ever? You keep moving. Hi. That's some nice side eye. You, my little friend, are getting so white in the face. Jim's getting so white in his face. Hi. Hi, sweet Beagle boy. Are you my goodest boy? Yeah, he says, Mama, leave me alone. I'm taking a nap. I'm busy doing Beagle things, which involves sleeping.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, y'all be safe out there.